Lucy, what's going on with your little sister? Why is she so angry at you?
We are in a fight right now. I thought we were having a good time. We talked on the phone yesterday. This morning I wake up to a text that said, "I effing hate you." I said, "Why?" She said, "You're the worst sister ever." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "You do all this stuff for my brother and my dad. You never do anything for me."
How old is your sister?
22. The worst age. And I said,
put it on the poll, please, Juju. Is 22 the worst age?
I was like, "Kate, what's up?" She said, "You had mascots on the show yesterday and you don't even bother to effing call me, knowing that my one true dream in life is to be a professional mascot. Wow. Your job has gotten me nowhere. You either need to get it together or get a new job because I can't do this much longer."
You knew that your little sister's one true dream job was to be a mascot?
Actually, this is the first I'm learning of this, but she is so angry. People don't know that she calls me pretty much every single day during the show. I don't pick up, and then she immediately texts me and says, "You need to quit your job. I am more important." She's a star.
That is sort of that generation,
yeah.
Is it not? The selfie generation?
That's Kate.
Mike Ryan, you missed. Bernie was here, and evidently, I don't know which mascot was guilty of this. They said that one of the mascots was burping a great deal. I imagine that he was smoking a cigarette underneath the suit. He got a real coughing fit from smelling how much Stugotz smelled like cigarettes. But there's a funny character in a series about the mascot who underneath the mascot costume is an angry, bitter, burping smoker. What happened with that? What happened with the mascots here yesterday that you guys saw underneath the costume? Because getting a little close can show you it's nice from a distance, the cartoon stuff. But when you see and smell the human inside, you're like, oh, wait a minute. This human can see me. I can't see this human. This is a job for voyeurs, people who want to be mascots. I can't trust them.
Like my sister.
Stugotz gave Bernie a hug, and I don't know if it's because he's a Knicks fan or because he smelled like cigarettes, but I heard coughing.
Yes.
I can't confirm whether it was a human or just Bernie.
Coughing inside the suit. That's correct.
There were also deep sighs whenever we were talking about the Panthers because it wasn't the Heat. So Bernie was not very happy.
We did do one of our better hockey segments with them in the room.
The idea of being able to hear the mascots under their breath sort of bitterly. Yes, the show you guys were getting because you can hear mascot sounds because we were talking about the only team in town still playing. Mike, you're a little bit scared. No, you keep telling
No, about the Bruins?
Just, it's 2 games now. It's 2 games for your season. And
No, not at all. If I were a Rangers fan, I'd be a bit more nervous. The series price on Florida is minus 750. That the books have pretty supreme confidence that Florida's going to close it out here in the next 2 games.
What is it at the Rangers?
Minus 250.
Oof. All right, I feel better now, honestly. That makes
they were
me feel
up
better.
3-0.
Because I am scared. But this is supposed to be scary. I've kind of been saying this the whole time. Like, this is the feeling we're supposed to have. I'm confident while being scared.
Well,
if that makes any sense.
Start the show because you guys have been yelling at me for 24 hours about my Game 7 take. So go ahead and start the show.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
We have giant breaking news around here, which is super unusual at this hour in the morning, but we are chasing a story that we have not chased like this since J.R. Smith threw a cup of soup at an assistant coach in Cleveland, and then we got to the heart and the bottom of that story. We found out it was tortilla soup. We brought you that story before anyone else did. In the NBA, I know many of you might want to talk about Dallas OKC. This is giant enough news that we are changing the call letters today at WFAT. We are changing the call letters in a second so that you understand how we meet this news in New York, that the New York Knicks, that the reason they won that game against Indiana, even though their team is broken, and I know we love this motivational stuff, the stuff that coaches do before games and how it is that they get their teams ready for a moment. The New York Knicks against the Indiana Pacers, a little scared because they, in the previous game, had been down 43 points. Their team's injured. The tension in the locker room before Game 5 of a scared Knicks team that didn't know quite what it was with confidence was broken. And this story was broken by Fred Katz. The tension was broken when someone in the locker room released what is being reported to be a, quote, epic fart. An epic fart cut the tension in the room, and the New York Knicks then went out and did what they did against the Indiana Pacers. We are pursuing this story. We are pursuing Fred Katz. He says he's not going to say who it was. We need to find out who it was. We need to narrow it down.
Well, whoever denied it supplied it.
We need to get to the bottom of this. I didn't even do that on purpose. I want this story aired out. Didn't do that on purpose either. I don't want to make a bunch of fart jokes here. I do want to find out, though, what happened in that room, the reported details.
WFAT.
Excellent. There we go. Now we're ready to cover this story correctly. We've got new call letters. We've got new imaging. Chris Cody, as always, he's really getting good at this executive producer job, the way he does seamlessly things on the fly.
WFAT.
Who is that?
It's me.
It's just Jeremy? It's just Jeremy. Okay.
Yeti wasn't available this early.
All right. So Fred Katz is not telling us who it is. He's got a responsibility as a journalist to tell us who it is. Like, you can't make that story partial. You can't credit the fart and then not credit the fart maker.
WFAT.
And also what happened in that Dallas OKC game, super interesting to me, just from this perspective, okay? Because you know how much I don't like some of the intangible bullshit we attach to sports. Like, yes, they were motivated by a fart. Of course, that's why they won. Or leader guy screaming on the sideline, I've fallen in love with Paul Maurice because the neck bulges with veins. OKC, throughout my history covering that sport, it's usually super predictable this time of year. It's going to be 1-2 all the time, 1, 2, and 3. It's not usually a 5. Houston Rockets did it with Hakeem Olajuwon. Shaq's still mad about it last night. It's one of my favorite things in sports television, when Barkley actually makes Shaq sensitive and mad, reminding him what Hakeem did to him. But 5 seeds don't win that series generally. The 1 seed at home, you could just go ahead and say that's going to win a Game 7, and maybe OKC will. But the thing that I find interesting about this is that OKC is the youngest team in the league. They are like a college team. North Carolina's starting 5 was about the same age. And I'm always told that these guys got to learn through the failure. You can't just go to the front of the line, that it's got to feel the way it's felt for Luka and Kyrie for them to be able in those moments to win when it becomes playoff basketball. And so I don't know what youth means. I thought it was going to be knucklehead ball. Stan is saying, not that team. They're poised. That team's not going to do they're not going to do what Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards might, which is knucklehead ball. But they're young. And they got like 2 veterans who have like sizzled under.
What were you saying about him in that EP chair?
Sorry about that.
Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic have burned under that hot light for many years of public scrutiny. OKC just got here. And it really is legitimately confusing to me, because I would have just said OKC was better all year. They're younger, they're faster. Look, Luka's on one leg. I love what that team does in general. I'm going to love to watch them grow.
Did you see the tweet that said Chet Holmgren looks like Abraham Lincoln was dealing coke at the University of Miami?
Can we put that on the poll? Yes, I did see that because of how he was dressed. Does Chet Holmgren look like he was Abraham Lincoln dealing coke while he was at the University of Miami? He's young, and I never know when these guys say, like they always do after failures, we'll learn from this. We'll learn from this. But teams like Minnesota and OKC never get to actually advance in this sport. They've got to suffer first. Boston doesn't get to win before the last 3 or 4 seasons feel like they do. That's almost universal, right? That's without exception. There's nobody who's ever gone to the front of the line and won a title the way OKC and Minnesota would have to this year, correct? History of the sport.
History of the sport would suggest, like, there have been a couple outliers that they actually get to the final and surprise people with a run. I think you could maybe say, even though at the time they were like both top 15 players in the league, but the Penny Hardaway, Shaquille O'Neal Magic were ahead of schedule, and then they ran into Hakeem Olajuwon. I also think you can make an argument for that OKC with Westbrook and Kevin Durant and James Harden didn't do a great deal of suffering before getting to the final. They were always at Achilles' heel for that.
You're even making an accomplishment, and you should, just getting there. Just getting there. You don't get to go through the front of the line. It's such an interesting thing in that sport that there needs to be a form of suffering and that the young people actually have to learn. And I say all this knowing that OKC could win the next 2 games because these things do tend to be pretty predictable. We get to Game 7 and the one wins. Like, however it is we get there, we get to Game 7 and the one wins because that game's at home.
Yeah, but the sport has changed a lot in recent years.
That's true.
We just had an NBA Finals last year where there was an 8 seed that made it. The
Celtics win more on the road than they do at home in the playoffs somehow.
Yeah, we're in a really strange era right now in the NBA, and historically, it's not really a sport that has these super long windows. So it's almost like we're this close. We gotta do it now.
Lucy, you were no more interested in this show and its history than you were when Chris Cody made that fart sound. I am just learning about you that you appear to be a fart girl.
I am foot girl, fart girl,
Foot.
lots.
Fart.
She likes that one.
Fart.
Like my test for people is like, hey, if I'm like trying to figure out if I vibe with you, like a good fart joke or burp joke, if you laugh, you're probably pretty chill. If you're like, no, that's juvenile humor, get over it. Farts have always been funny. They will always be funny. Love them.
Juju, put it on the poll, please. Are farts the original joke? Because I do believe before speech that was, somebody was climbing up a tree and nobody can communicate and there wasn't language and that's the original joke.
You don't think it's got your nose?
Might be someone just falling down. I don't know. Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Let's put some nominees up here. Got your nose, falling down.
Pointing to something that's, you have a little something on your shirt and then running the finger up to the nose. Yeah. I still get folks.
My daughter loves that. I taught her that. She does it to everyone she sees.
Well, let me ask you a question. Will I have video at any point today of you talking to your daughter and trying to explain, as I requested yesterday, the whole Jokic thing?
I'm working on it. It was a long edit. It did not go like I thought. It wasn't as funny as I thought. My daughter wasn't in the mood to play ball. Let's just put it that way.
You're super into these NBA playoffs. I thought I wanted an NBA with more parity. And it turns out I'm not in on it. And I have larger issues with the sport just in general. I think the sport's a little bit broken. But I was watching Celtics Cavs last night on a second TV. And I know he's got a contract issue and he may be on the move. But a sore calf? A sore calf is why Donovan Mitchell's missed the game. I know I'm in hockey mode and I'm not trying to do this, but the shit hockey players play with.
Oh, I thought of that yesterday. It wasn't just that. Cleveland had a bunch of guys who were out.
Yeah, Allen, I understand. Allen, does Allen have broken ribs? Like, he took a really bad shot.
Levert, all of a sudden, Levert was out.
Yeah, but like the sore calf, like there is no tomorrow in that sport. You sit out the sore calf because you're worried that you may make the injury worse or you may get another injury, but there is no tomorrow. You're going out with Max Strus having to be your guy. That's not That's not tough.
It was funny to see him also standing on the sideline the entire time with that sore calf coaching his teammates.
Dude, that's a real bad look. And again, I don't know anybody. I'm tangentially paying attention to the sport. You guys got that on this show. But I saw the injury report, and I just couldn't believe. Like, that's how your main guy's going to go out. That's his last act, potentially, in a Cavs uniform.
While Reinhard gets hit in the face by a...
he has a hole in his cheek. Sam Reinhard had a hole in his cheek.
I do want to just stop for a moment because I've actually asked around on some of this LeBron stuff, and it's more interesting than I thought it was, and probably not terribly surprising when you put the pieces together on this. But when you think of what's birthed over 15 years that turns Kyrie's career into this weird thing, he makes the greatest shot in the history of the sport, and then he breaks free from LeBron to learn his own things. Everything that has happened after that leaves us today in a place where Kyrie Irving is sort of damaged from everything that happened. James Harden is damaged. Kawhi Leonard damaged in some ways by everything that's birthed. And so if Donovan Mitchell's unhappy, that will be how he exits. That's how it is done. Go, don't injure yourself again. Don't risk anything like Kevin Durant did by playing in the finals and tearing his Achilles. But the thing I wanted to tie to LeBron that was super interesting that I hadn't pieced together when we were talking about this yesterday, his last act so far with the Lakers is to get that last question as punctuation. Hey, did you think at all during this game about whether you're going to be here or not? And then he took that long pause and he's like, I'm not going to answer that. And he dropped the microphone and he walked off. And then everything after that is, how do I leverage the Lakers into whatever I want? Is J.J. Redick my coach? Is my son going to be drafted by you? Get me all the players that I want. You want me to end my career here in Hollywood? I'd like to. Clutch Management thrives here. We're running all the meetings out here. Every place we walk into, the executives can't be happier to just give us money. Yeah, but give me everything I want. That's how it'll end for LeBron. And what he birthed onto the side is Kyrie Irving over here and Donovan Mitchell. And they're going to get theirs how they get theirs. But when you say the sport's a little bit broken and the games aren't real close, like it's not hockey. It's not hockey. I'm not saying it's bad basketball because I love basketball. But I'm not getting a lot of Brunson Sixers.
Yeah.
Like I want more Murray game winners. I want the games to be close. And the way the Celtics are playing, lose by 20, win by 20, whatever.
Yeah, again, tangentially following, always on mute. It seems like the 15-point game is like the new 5-point game. These games aren't really compelling down the stretch. And also, just another observation, I've seen Jason Tatum play playoff basketball for what feels like a decade. He always complains for calls, but literally every time. And he's gotten a fair amount of texts this postseason because of it. He thinks he's Michael Jordan in terms of him not getting calls. And he is just constantly complaining up and down the court.
I will be fascinated at what the sociology of this generation becomes as we keep guarding, sort of framing Jason Tatum as if he is a formed, muscular, 35-year-old Jordan, while not allowing for the last 10 years of whatever his generation has done with fame and power that makes Ben Simmons short circuit over here when he enters the fame machine. Like, whatever it is that's happened there with Tatum, as you guys wonder, why is Kevin Durant so angry and bitter? Well, he did these years this way through all of this power, and Tatum's going to get chewed up by some of what's around him. But if he thinks it's Jordan, it's because he's probably treated like, I want to be the face of the league. You're perfect. You're perfect in every way. We'd love to make you the face of the league. All you got to do is win. Here's your team. We'll get Marcus out of here. Hey, Jaylen Brown, we'll get you whatever you need. You'll take all the shots at the end, all the 18-footers. Here it is. Here it is.
Well, you'll have the opportunity. He needs to take the shots. That's what he needs to show this.
You ask him why he has a God complex. He say, because I am God at his most honest.
Quote Alec Baldwin?
That's what I just did.
That's so old that I don't think anyone else would have caught that on this show. Like, if you did this yesterday, it would have just slid by.
It's a good reference for the old timers in our audience.
Is that Malice?
Yes, it's a great monologue. One of the best. Might not be the best in Alec Baldwin's career.
He's the monologue guy.
But yes, you ask that doctor operating on a patient, does he have a God complex? And at his most honest, that doctor would tell you in that moment when I'm holding the scalpel, I am God.
I am God.
At Celtics basketball, he's the center of everything. in that city where they care about that sport. Like maybe the Patriots are that now, but it's never been the Patriots. That sport's the one that matters. It's the first one that gave Boston its identity.
It's getting outrated by the other sport.
He's the perfect. Is it in Boston?
It got the in the first round, and granted the Heat weren't this super compelling opponent, but in the first round the Bruins and Celtics went head to head, and the Bruins outrated them.
Hockey would be they have burst so much sports media because of how much they care about sports.
Oh yeah,
in that market.
It's super annoying how those two teams in particular, the Celtics in the NBA and the Bruins in the NHL, are covered because the mainstream media is essentially birthed out of that region of the country. So they establish the narrative for everybody. We saw this offseason with the pursuit of Damian Lillard, in which the Northeast just simply could not let that stand. And we're seeing it right now with how this Panthers officiating discussion, which has just gotten totally out of hand, is happening.
We will get to that in a second, but I did want to ask the crew, because of how we discussed this the day that LeBron showed up in Cleveland and used the currency that he's used over 15 years to dominate the sport, because I do find this endlessly fascinating. And also, I understand why people object to, hey, media, can't you cover the new guys? How about the new guys? And I'm like, well, the media grew up, the voices now. This is how we do it for 15 and 20 years. It's this guy, and wherever he's going, this is what we're following. And what he's doing is the oldest player in the league. It's a gangster move. The Lakers, last time you saw Jenny Buss, she was pawing at him.
Jeannie,
I'm sorry. Is that a fine?
No, it's all right. You just misspoke. Move on.
They were hugging him, Kirk Rambis's wife, and Jeannie Buss. Last time we saw them, were holding LeBron as if they know that he's responsible for the Laker economy, which he is, and they will give him anything. But his last move of leverage publicly as a Laker, no comment, and then he shows up in Cleveland with a bottle of wine, and here we go. I've got the leverage as the oldest player in the league. I don't know about the audience, but when you start piecing these things together, understand that's strategic, all of it. He's gotten very good at it. He's mastered it. No one's ever done it like him.
Yeah, no one's had the opportunity to do it like him. It's just such a different day and age. It'd be really curious to see, like, you're shaped by the culture around you. And just Michael Jordan came from a different generation. I'd really be fascinated with all the things that the old school NBA fans attribute to Michael Jordan and this mentality that he had. If you plopped Michael Jordan in today's day and age, will he feel like the Michael Jordan that you know and love? Or will he feel a little bit more like Jason Tatum? Will he feel a little bit more emo? Would he be on social media? Would he have selfie videos? Would he be doing the kinds of stuff? How would he dress walking to a game? Well, it couldn't be worse than what he was dressing to games like in the 90s. I'll give him that.
Well, what you were talking about with Tatum and complaining on calls, if you watch the late game and you watch the Dallas Mavericks, Luka, the announcers were actually praising him for bouncing back from a game in Game 4 where he was doing a lot of complaining, where early in the game last night, he was getting mugged. He made a shot where he was in midair, got hit right in front of the three-point line, switched hands and threw it up with one hand, made the shot, and didn't say anything to the officials, and sort of went in with this mentality of, I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to complain about calls, and he was getting mugged, but then later in the game, ultimately got those calls and had a tremendous game on the road in Game 5. So
Luka's
he had that mentality.
Luka's a dog. I love watching him. And also, if you can look past Kyrie Irving's past, where he spewed hateful propaganda on his social media channels, he's actually been very low-key for Kyrie, and he's fitting in quite nicely, and he's matured in that we're not really talking about. Think about all the things that have gone on. Think about all the things that are going on right now. You haven't heard Kyrie Irving weigh in on any of it.
I love how him just not talking is him maturing. He's just like, he's keeping quiet. No, I'm with you.
Well, and he hasn't been very good in a couple of the games. P.J. Washington has been, I'm probably better in the series.
He scored 9 points, and 12 points in 3 of those games, and they're up 3-2.
But he's been great for them, and I want to examine later down the road just some of that stuff I don't understand on how it is OKC has to grow up, and then we can continue to get back to basketball being largely predictable, although it's changing the way that the three-pointers are changing all of the scoreboards. I wanted to continue a conversation from yesterday that Chris Cody was still yelling at me about, though, because he thinks I've fanned out in terms of all I care about is content. I only look at things as a media person. So, of course, I want Game 7s. But I keep looking at him and saying, but if you're a sports fan who's confident in your team and you say that your building, the Mecca, is the best place in the world that all the other players are afraid of because of how crazy it gets, why would you not want a Game 7 in your home building? I'm not saying that you don't want Game 6 at Indiana to win, but why would you be afraid of a Game 7 when it's better than a Game 6?
Why would I want a one-game sample?
I don't know if it's because you've been a journalist longer than you haven't been, but this is an asinine take.
Oh, God.
It's one of the craziest things you've ever said.
No, I'm a Panthers fan. I'd rather it end Friday night.
Of course.
And if you get to the mountaintop and you can reflect on it, yeah, that Game 7, that's the stuff that legends are made of. But no, I'd prefer a 4-game sweep every round if I could.
We have been having a form of this argument since 2010, and you guys always end up on the other side of this argument from me, and I keep telling you, don't you understand that the fear is part of the fun?
Yeah, for the neutral observer.
It doesn't.
You have zero allies in this discussion other than neutrals. Like, you act like we're the crazy ones. No one's agreed with you.
For 15 years, no one has agreed with me, and I do not care for this reason. The best moments that you ever have had in sports start with you being afraid. The more afraid you are, the more fun and memorable it ends up being after it is done. The Ray Allen shot is remembered forever around here.
Yeah, but I'm not. Yeah, but what do you? Yeah, in retrospect, like I said, if you get to the mountaintop,
the higher. I'm not saying that you want it beforehand. Why would you fear the fear when the fear makes it all better?
Dan, your entire argument is you saying it on the front end. Yeah. No, I don't want it. I want it to be over. Yeah, it was great when Ray Allen made the shot. Do you know what was going on inside my guts?
That's the good stuff. That's the reason.
Do you know what was going on inside my guts at Keg South during that game?
That's the good stuff. I had a blanket wrapped around my head, sitting on my bed in the dark.
This is why you ride roller coasters.
My GI still is not right.
It's why you watch horror movies.
I don't watch horror movies, Dan.
For a reason. It's why you listen to murder podcasts.
I don't.
That's actually
you
surprising.
You don't know me at all.
That's just judging a book by the cover.
I love SVU, but that's different.
It is surprising that you don't listen to murder podcasts.
I feel like you're listening to a murder pod right now.
Yeah, pretty much, Dan. Terrible take. Just bad stuff.
The fear makes it so much better.
But you just said, you threw in the little line of, I'm not saying you want it on the front end, but you asked Sam Morrill yesterday.
The entire argument is based on the front end. That's why it's ridiculous. I don't want it.
I'm not saying that you should prefer it before you go in, but what I'm telling you is after it is done, it's the preferred thing.
Let me deconstruct this argument. Right now, what you're saying to sports fans that have skin in the game is, do you want, I can tell you right now, you advance one step further in your pursuit of a championship, or do you want a one-game sample risking not?
Understood, but if I just make it, would you prefer a Game 7 or a Game 6? Which one produces the maximum fear, therefore the maximum memories, therefore the maximum fun?
Dan, Ray Allen was in a Game 6.
Understood, because it saved the season. You remember it forever, but it produced a Game 7 that was one of the best series you've ever experienced as a sports fan in your life, because you remember all of the details that got you to the maximum fear.
For neutrals, I 100% agree with you.
I'm turning your mic off, Dan.
We have mobilized all 45 Meadowlark employees, including the ones in New York, as part of this WFART investigation. Fred Katz will join us shortly, but we've also reached out, it's early yet, to 5 other beat writers who cover the Knicks, and we're going to reach out to all of them to see if we can find out who the farter was that won Game 5. But 2 claim of the Knicks writers, 2 claim to have no idea who the mysterious motivational farter is, and one of them, Christian Winfield of the Daily News, he was willing to put his name on this report. He told us exclusively that the farter, quote, could be, end quote, a rotation player. So we will get you more information as it becomes available.
Was it Josh Fart?
Go sit in the penalty box. For a little while.
Pretty good. Contextually, I think he was covered.
Really? Is he going to do Isaiah Fartenstein?
That was next, but you kicked him out before he could. You workshopped it. I was proud of him.
You were proud of that?
Yeah.
He's chosen bad jokes.
No, like that. The dad jokes are fine. The bad dad jokes are fine if you have the proper framework. It's just sometimes he just rams it in there.
Chris Cody, do you have the imaging that I would like that would send him away for 2 minutes for high shticking? No? Okay, let's do that, please, because it's something I'd like. I'd like the whistle and someone sends him away for an assortment of hockey infractions. But we're going to, this story, we're going to get more on this story because I do think the fart's the original joke. I don't have a better one that would just be easy, wordlessly understood, even though Mike says just point at someone's chest and then run a finger up to their nose. I don't think that's a joke. I don't think that's the original joke.
Well, there's a difference between a gag and a joke.
Right, that's a gag.
Well, then a joke has to be verbal.
Right.
Yeah, okay. But is a fart verbal?
It has to be noisy. Does it have to be verbal or just
no,
audio?
No, we're playing a little fast and loose with the rules right here.
Are we? I think
it has to be a sonic experience to be a joke.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do you know the difference between a gag and a joke? Because I do not. As my punishment, Lucy, for having what you called a terrible take, and I think I want to empower you more here to just get little prizes from correcting me in a way that embarrasses me. So,
like money?
No, like the ability to talk about the things that you want to talk about, like Wicked, which I don't want to talk about. And
Jeremy's gonna die.
I don't want to talk about Wicked.
Well, that's
Jeremy's gonna.
No. 2 more minutes for high shticking. No, an extra 2 minutes
Don't
for
do
high
that to
shticking.
the kid, man. He
this
does
is
good work.
I understand, but this is not a reward for Jeremy. Jeremy's has got to be a punishment, and him having to sit out Lucy talking about Wicked when I don't want to talk about Wicked is a punishment. It's a good punishment for high shticking.
This is so awkward, but I don't care about Wicked, and I didn't watch the trailer, and I don't care at all. So can I have the money?
I thought there was no money offered to you. I thought that you and Jeremy were dying to talk about Wicked. It's only Jeremy who wants to talk about Wicked.
Talk on a day that Jess and Jeremy can't actually participate.
I don't care about Wicked, the movie that's coming out. I'm not a big Ariana Grande fan. She's lost me recently. But what I do care about is this one specific viral video.
Hold on. This is my favorite. Hold on. Her sister was a witch, right? And what was her sister? A princess. The Wicked Witch of the East, bro. I'm gonna stab him. You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong? It's my favorite. She wore a crown and she came down in a bubble, dog. I'm not fighting with you. Grow up, bro. Grow up.
All-timer. Legendary.
It's great.
That was actually Joe Burrow.
Oh, my God. Speaking of football, schedule release day was yesterday, and it was fairly funny to me as someone who doesn't care about that to watch the amount of noise and buzz because the marketing campaigns for these schedules are so good. Football is now making art. When they don't have anything, they put it in front of you and it gathers up and takes the media stream with it. And I guess the Chargers did the best job is what I can gather from people who are watching all of these and are just amazed at how creative people are. The Titans were really funny. But here's what the best part of it is to me. It was so fun watching everybody love their creative football yesterday, and I feel like after watching all of that, nobody knows where anyone's actually playing. That all of the stuff was so creative that the games are incidental, the schedule's incidental. We're just enjoying the Chargers being creative on social media.
Yeah, all last night I just sat and watched video after video, and I was like, these are so hilarious. They're so creative. Like, this seems like such a fun job. And then I was like, wait, I don't know who anybody is playing. Outside of their divisional matchups, no clue, but I don't really care. I think it's like a fun, engaging way to like let creatives do creative things, and the Chargers did such a great job doing like a Sims version of the schedule release, and the Commanders did like a is it cake or not? The Cowboys did a FaceTime video. They all did so wonderful.
It would have been funny if some team just went old school and just released the schedule. Just like an old cutout, just all the games.
Here it is.
Here it is.
Oh, a schedule magnet.
The Packers, right? The Packers should have just put out a magnet with just a magnet with 17 names on it.
I enjoy the Chiefs hydraulic press because I follow a bunch of hydraulic presses on Instagram.
Did the Chargers win the day, though?
Yeah, the Chargers.
By trolling Harrison Butker.
They
That was my favorite
usually
part.
win the day. They have like the best social media team. If you're not following them, you really should. They're super creative. They do great stuff. So they finished their video with like the actual schedule, and they did like a Sims version of Harrison Butker in the kitchen where he belongs.
Baking a pie? Is he baking a pie there?
Yeah,
That's where a man's place is, the
Cherry
kitchen.
pie, actually.
Oh, cherry
His
pie.
life
I think
didn't
so.
start till then.
Who's fighting Zion Williamson here? Is that Mike Tannenbaum? Why is Mike Tannenbaum fighting Zion Williamson there? I don't understand what that video is. Welcome back, Jeremy. I'm sorry you missed the Wicked talk. It was a glorious time.
Looks like he got a good Mike Tannenbaum.
Does look like a dark version of Mike Tannenbaum.
That man was black, yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Yes. To
looks
me, it's
like
not
Mike
giving Mike
Tannenbaum.
Tannenbaum.
His
To me,
face structure, I kind of see what Dan is doing, like with the shape of his face.
I
but-
don't, because that is a black man.
It looks like, hey, man, you've told me that Troy Aikman looks like Jay-Z.
Well, the internet told us that, and they nailed that one.
Okay.
I just don't
I've
see
nailed
this one.
this one. Don't
This
tell
is-
me I
this
didn't
is the
nail
next
this
of
one.
that?
This is that. Yes, this is. I'm trying to do the recreation of the Troy Aikman looks like Jay-Z with Mike Tannenbaum. That is correct.
I don't see it.
Well, okay. I'm not going to argue.
It
the
also doesn't
hairline.
look like Zion,
The hairline.
to be fair.
It's a skinny. Those arms are very skinny on Zion.
And there's an awkward photo.
Fred Katz, it's not awkward. That's the photo I was talking about. Fred Katz is going to join us here a little bit to find out what it is that's going on in the Knicks locker room. But, Jeremy, go ahead and have at it. You missed out on the Wicked talk. I should have sent you out again for a third straight, a hat trick of bad jokes. But what is it that you had to supplement us on Wicked on? I don't know why I'm rewarding you.
Truthfully, it was that viral video. She wore a crown and she came down in a bubble, dog. It's the best viral video that's ever existed. But the Wicked trailer, the thing that's crazy is it's the first of these movie musicals in a while to actually let you know it's a musical, because Mean Girls and Wonka were hiding that from you. They were stifling it.
I'm just learning Wonka was a
That's what I'm telling you. You didn't know it because
and
you only
Mean
saw the
Girls.
previews.
Yeah.
And Mean Girls. Mean Girls, also a musical.
I knew that about Mean Girls, but Wonka, whew,
Lucy didn't know either.
I
This
didn't
is
know
news
Wonka.
to us.
I knew Mean Girls, and I only knew Mean Girls because I kept seeing TikToks of people walking out the theater because they didn't realize it was
Right.
a musical, and they were very disappointed with the product.
Exactly. But Wicked, the part that's going to make fans that actually see it upset, the actual fans of the musical, is that they're making it a two-parter. So the climactic moment right before the intermission, when the movie really gets going, is just going to be the end of the movie, and there's going to be a credit that says Wicked Part 1, and everyone is going to be devastated. The same way that the first Dune was really, really boring.
put it on the poll. Are you going to be devastated when Wicked just sets up a sequel?
If you see it, you're going to be upset.
Let's get some more B-roll out there on just schedule release stuff, because I know we have some audio here.
The comment section is telling us that might be Stephen A. Smith pictured with Zion Williamson and not Mike Tannenbaum. In your defense, to me, it looks more like Mike Tannenbaum than Stephen A. Smith, outside of like one pretty big thing.
I am telling you, and I don't know why you guys are objecting to this. Not only do I see it clearly.
I'm with Dan, honestly. Like the shape of his face, the hairline, I'm with you, but he's black.
I understand that.
You can't bury that lead.
I don't see color. Never have.
Also, contextually, why is Mike Tannenbaum with Zion Williamson?
And Zion seems like afraid.
Yeah, that would be why it's Stephen A.
Wait,
Smith.
wait. I want to be clear on something here. I did go for the joke with Mike Tannenbaum because I didn't see a scenario in which Mike Tannenbaum would be opposite Zion Williamson and yelling at him. The reason that I thought that joke was funny is because, not what you think it is, just because of how much it looks like Mike Tannenbaum, while it couldn't possibly be Mike Tannenbaum.
Yeah, because of one big thing.
That's the role they're asking him to play.
Okay, well, that's complicated. But to me, it's the eyebrows. If you can get past, again, the one big thing.
There's a little Ruffalo in there, too.
Okay, now we're talking. Now we're talking. And he's such a good actor, he can pull it off.
It's the same family of stuff. It is. You're not going to convince me otherwise. What else do we have, though, in terms of B-roll off the scheduling? Because the Steelers did some stuff that has audio in it, but it was just Jeremy jokes. It was just bad joke.
Let's not do that.
Aaron Rodgers with an alien.
We shouldn't do the Steelers
By the
stuff,
way,
right?
I don't believe him. I think he watches porn.
He definitely does.
You want to? The quickest way to convince me that you watch porn is by saying you don't watch porn.
Put that on the poll, Juju. We are right in the center of our investigation here of everything that's happening with the New York Knicks. We have now reached out to 5 Knicks beat writers about the motivational fart that won Game 5. Christian Winfield of the Daily News tells us exclusively that the farter, quote, could be a rotation player. We have Steve Popper of Newsday telling us simply, you'll have to check with Fred. And now we're reaching out to the Knicks for official comment, but now we have found Fred Katz. And Fred Katz is of The Athletic. On Saturdays, he hosts the Knicks podcast, Katz and Shoot, twice a week. And he broke this story. Thank you. Thank you very much. He broke this story. Take me through the details of your reporting, how you reported it, what level of shame you had in reporting it, the status of journalism that you reported it.
You know, Dan, you go to journalism school and you study everything there is to be studied, right? And you have to learn everything that's textbook, and you learn ethics, and you learn the history of journalism and mistakes that other people made and ways that people handle tricky situations and how to report in war zones and all that. And you never go over whether a fart is off the record, on the record, or on background. And so it's really something you have to figure out in the moment. It's a trying situation, but I'm really glad it got us here.
Did you
guys are doing due diligence here?
Did you guys get due diligence? There's so many bad jokes here. Can you did you actually choose to talk to anybody, reach out to an editor to decide whether something like that is off or on the record? And furthermore, you're protecting who it is that did that. And so I think you're treating it there as if it were off the record, and I don't think it should be.
I'm treating it as on background. I'm treating the culprit to be a not necessary part of the story to share.
Starter or rotation player?
I'm not even going to go that far.
No, that's still protecting your source. Listen to me.
There are reports out there that it might be a rotation player.
That's right. Could be. Look,
can you confirm
look,
earlier
you
reports?
have to listen. I'm not going to do this with you unless you get me at least slightly closer. I want to change or push up against whatever the ethics are of this, because now you've reported it. And you're doing it on background, but you didn't get permission to report it, okay? You reported it anyway. And so you're denying us this information, but you're responsible. If you're going to come out here, you choose what you want it to be. Get us a little closer to the truth, Fred. I'm wasting a lot of money and time investigating your big story.
And graphics.
All right, here's what I'll tell you, Dan. As a reporter, and you know this, you go in the locker room and there is a certain element
Smell.
of... That's true as well. Honestly, there was none. It was very loud, and that was
silent
about
but violent.
No, the opposite. It was loud but proud. Is really what it was.
But also not. You're saying no smell. It was just audio.
It was purely audio. As a matter of fact, when it happened, it strung along for, I would say, a lot longer than one might expect for a fart of that volume and in that context.
Well, you reported it was epic. Okay, I don't know how you arrived. Okay?
Could this have been a squeaky door?
For length and for volume is exactly why. And a few players looked over. It actually didn't get a reaction audibly at all. It got pure silence and a look over to that one player. And that one player looked around as if he was being inconspicuous and said with a completely straight face, "Something's up with the pipes in here."
No.
And that got the huge laugh.
No, okay, so it wasn't the fart. Wait a minute. All right, so we are now getting, now we're getting more important details. It was not the fart that cut the tension. It was the lie. And it was the lie. It was the lie.
It was the lie. And I'm pretty confident the lie was said tongue in cheek, because it was really the entire sequence that really did it. And I wouldn't say there was a ton of tension to begin with. However, if there was any tension before that, I think it all evaporated.
All right,
there.
can I get some help from the room, okay? Because I'd like to interrogate our journalist. He likes being the journalist. He's broken the big story. He gets the big attention today for it. But I would like to ask him questions that he is comfortable answering that doesn't betray his source, doesn't break the rules of the ethics of the locker room, but get us slightly closer to being able to sniff around who this might be than we presently are.
What side of the locker room did this come from?
What side of the locker room?
Yes.
This came from a locker room, a locker somewhat centered, somewhat in the middle. Somewhat in the middle.
Okay.
So it could be one of the better players because they're not going to put the best players. I feel like are in the middle.
I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, you guys asked a shitty question there that doesn't.
No,
get us,
but what I'm doing right now is
I don't
I'm
think
Googling
that
the
really
locker
helps
room.
you there.
I'm Googling
I mean,
the locker room. I can maybe, depending on locker room placement, I can eliminate some guys.
But you've got the investigator here, and all you're doing is creating more investigation for yourself. He goes into the locker room.
I mean,
now,
it's very clear he's not going to give us what we want.
No, I understand that, but your question didn't get us any closer to an answer.
It will once I get the picture of what it looks like.
No, but the audience needs an answer to this. Can I get some help from the room here on... it is a player who has had minutes in this series. It is
a player who has had minutes in this series. I will give you that.
See, now we're closer.
It is a player who has had minutes in this series.
Okay.
I can give you that.
How many rebounds?
I can tell you that.
No, you can't do that. That's too close to it. You guys don't know how to play this game.
Has this player averaged more or less than 25 minutes per game for the Knicks in this postseason?
Well, it's got to be less. It's got to be less.
He's guessing. Again, an epic fart reported in the Knicks locker room, an epic fart of leadership.
But is he throwing that out there because maybe this player was averaging more than 25 minutes per game, but then got hurt and is no longer playing, and he's taking the 0 minutes into account? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves.
Okay, not really out loud, though. Those are the questions we should keep to ourselves as we get closer to the truth here.
I'm just looking for looks on his face as we throw this
for
out
clues.
there.
I understand. We are trying to get to the bottom of this. Lucy, do you have any questions that you think will get us closer to the truth?
No, but I just have a question in general. Don't you think that if this fart brought the locker room together, then the player would be proud of this fart and want their identity out there to get MVP?
It's a big win.
It's a great point. It is a fantastic point. He may very well. However, I think I would have to check in with that player first before I publicly embarrassed him on a
Message
fine
them right
show
now
like
and say,
yours.
"Can I tell everyone about your fart?"
That's right. Let's
ask.
Okay,
Worst you can do is say no.
Would you describe the fart as precious?
There was actually a precious fart moment earlier this year.
What?
All right, we can eliminate him from this one.
that I feel confident in saying because that one got some play on Nick's Twitter.
Hartenstein.
So there was.
Hartenstein does have a
one.
centrally located locker.
Precious, what was the previous fart story with Precious, please?
It was he let one go during a scrum, and that one got out and made its way onto the internet amongst. So Nick's farting is becoming a thing.
If we have one final show guess, can you confirm or deny? Because you've given us a lot of sleuthing to do, and I think we're close to having a formal guess.
I don't think he's going to tell us if we have a formal
I can
guess.
give you the guess. I can't confirm it. You can try to read it from my facial expression. I will always protect the farter. That I think is rule number one of journalism at this point.
Okay.
Always protect it.
All right. Given the jersey number, where the fart location was, Jeremy asked some really good questions. Jeremy, you want to present our guess?
Hold on. Before you do that, I'm getting texts here from other sources telling me, I don't know what, I can't talk to you guys directly, that it's Burks. Is what I'm getting here just on my texts immediately. So if that's what you guys want to offer as our official guess, be careful.
That wasn't going to be our guess, so now we might have to do some more investigating because we
did blink a lot when Dan said that.
It's interesting. We were putting together the combination of how many minutes per game was this player playing, where was the location in the locker room. If we're talking about a long and powerful fart, we're thinking maybe a big man.
Alec Burks does not have a centrally located locker.
Okay, bad information I'm getting.
I have the layout of the locker room.
But I don't, Jeremy, I don't know what you're doing. You cannot profile these things based on size. I mean.
We've had a lot of context clues here.
Yeah.
But Jeremy's
I
saying.
don't think size matters at all.
Yeah, I think
Never
so.
does.
Height has no correlation.
Yeah, fiber does.
Height has absolutely no correlation.
What is our guess?
Mitchell Robinson.
He smirked.
He pursed his lips.
Well, I can tell you this. That's a poor guess because Mitchell Robinson is currently recovering from surgery.
Well,
So
right.
it's not
It's
even
the Knicks
around.
And was
locker.
not
around.
was not
medicine.
around.
Not around at all.
A lot of
that
medicine in
team.
his
Great,
system.
great.
Looking at
What
the
a
locker room.
shitty guess by us as a group.
That's
Farty
the
guess.
worst. That's the worst guess could have gone with.
Shitty, my God.
McBride.
That's the one
that's
that
what-
I can confirm.
That's
it was-
what
it
all
was
of our
not him.
investigation produced. Like, look at that. Look at.
Deuce McBride.
All right. You know what? You go sit in the penalty box. Fred, you get out
telling
of
you,
here.
that's it.
Thank you for your reporting. 2 minutes for high sticking. Get out of here. Thank you.
I love you guys having me on. I love you guys for looking into this. You guys are the best show.
Thank you, sir. The Athletic NBA show on Saturdays. He hosts the Knicks podcast, Katz and Shoot, twice a week. What were the rejected names before Katz and Shoot? What finished in second place?
Katz on Broadway was one that was put out there, but that was honestly even cornier. I thought that was even cornier than Katz and Shoot.
Jeremy loves it. Look at him.
I
over
do.
there,
I love
just
it.
grinning maniacally.
This
Thank
is
you.
the best.
Thank you, Fred. I'm just ashamed of our group. I think our audience is disappointed on our behalf that the community wanted to make a good guess there, and you guys trying to do
We
the
tried, man.
research
Yeah, this is
come
like
up with
this.
Mitchell Robinson.
This guy's treating it like Watergate.
He's
What
not
do you
even
want me to
around
do?
the team.
R.
Why are you still here? Get out of here? Why are you still here? You need to get out of here.
Who are you talking to?
I don't
Katz
want
or
you.
Cody?
Both of you. Get Katz out of here. Get Chris Cody out of here. Get everybody out of here because I'm annoyed. How can Mitchell Robinson be our guest? He's
Well,
not
he has
around.
locker room access. He's got a centrally
He's
located.
not
It's in
around
New
the
York.
team. The guy
It was McBride.
We all know that.
It was McBride.
He was
Admit it,
willing
Katz.
to
You
be
tried to
on.
guess Alec
And
Burks.
it
It
was
was going to be Alec Burks before, but you took the Alec Burks guess. You took our Alec Burks guess.
No, I threw it to you.
Yeah, because you took our
You
guess
had a
before.
worse guess
That's not how you
than
set up
mine.
our
It
guess.
had to
By
be.
taking our guess.
God, I hate you guys.
R.
David Samson is going to join us in a little bit here. Before we get to that, though, there are a number of things that I want to cover with you guys, because I don't know if you've been following the travails of Darren Waller. He has just gotten pretty publicly divorced from Kelsey Plum. Darren Waller, for those of you who do not know, the first I learned of him is he's another one of these giant tight ends for the Raiders who can't be stopped because he moves around the field at his size in a way that's super unusual, but also has talked a lot about demons and mental health stuff and addiction and darkness, and was thinking about retiring during the end of last season after being traded to the Giants, and the whole thing with the Giants seems like it was awful. Darren Waller got to run all over the field when he was playing before. That had to be a shitty experience for him, and he wanted to retire. And generally in football, when I hear a player wants to retire, I'm like, oh, that guy is totally done. Like if he's doing it for money or some other reason other than he likes doing it, or if you're not playing that game with your heart, you're smoked. And I don't and haven't followed the details of his divorce. So, Lucy, I don't know how he's publicly losing his divorce as this becomes a mess in public. My only knowledge about this man is I felt bad for him if he's battling demons and stuff to want to retire from the sport. There's probably something going on in his life that is pretty turbulent.
He's not necessarily losing the divorce so much as Kelsey Plum is winning the divorce. So it came out about a few weeks ago that they officially split up. There were rumors for a while. They hadn't posted each other on Instagram. This was also a very notoriously private couple. Most people did not know they were dating until they just posted that they had gotten married, like photos of their wedding. So they got divorced a few weeks ago, or officially split up. And since then, Kelsey Plum has been on an absolute heater. She showed up to the Aces' first game 2 days ago. That woman looked so good. She had like her abs were out. She had like a kind of like little titty top on. She looked phenomenal. And then you're watching the game. Wow, she looks amazing. She shows up. What's all over the commercial? Kelsey Plum in a Skims ad, looking absolutely amazing. My girl, I can always tell when someone's going through a breakup because they get exponentially hotter, and that is what has happened to Kelsey Plum. And I'm sorry she got divorced, but damn, she looks good. Go Kelsey.
I want to ask you about my professional marriage here and the places where it is falling apart. The one with Stugotz that I have. I want to ask the group here how I'm to feel about the following, because David Samson's going to join us. And David Samson's a little bit hurt by how it is that Stugotz asked for Samson to write part of his book for Stugotz. Stugotz is basically outsourcing all of this, giving us deadlines. In some cases, there's been a real tier system on who he gives the most respect by calling personally versus legitimately having his people reach out to Jessica and others on his behalf to tell them what they will be doing for him and his book for free. The question I have, because he never asked me to write the foreword, he told me I had a deadline of May 5th, and I've got a lot of things going on in my life, and these things take time. He wouldn't know. He's not writing a book. We are. And when you write, these things are hard, and I thought because he asked me to do it, that mine might be a little mean in tone because I don't know what anyone else is writing. And he's telling me to be mean. He's saying, just hammer me, buddy. And I'm like, are you sure? And so I wrote it at the deadline 2 weeks ago and told him I've got a busy time coming up. If I need to rework it, I need time. I'm going to be in Africa. I've got things to do. He hasn't read it in 2 weeks. This work he's asked me to do for him for free that took a good amount of a weekend. What am I to do with the fact that the Stugotz book experience is filling me with resentment, and now that forward is going to be meaner than I want it to be because I don't know the tone of everything else being written about it, and he's just saying, don't worry, buddy, hammer me.
Just wait till the book tour.
How am I supposed to feel about all that?
You know who you married. I know that this is the thing, and him being like this is canon, and and he plays right to it. But you can't possibly pretend to be surprised or exasperated at this point.
You should just mail it in. Write like a paragraph.
I was actually using Chad GPT to just do it for
Chad
me.
GPT?
Chat
The
GPT.
frat.
That's a good
AI.
character, though. Let's put that one. Set Chad GPT aside.
What's up, bro?
Artificial stupidity.
Like, just like Google it or whatever.
I don't fucking know, man.
Chad GPT is a good character.
Listens to you talk and just goes, man, that's crazy.
I tried, but it was really shitty. It wasn't good enough, wasn't funny enough. And I'm like, I should have done it the way that he would have done it, which is just mail it in. But I want it to be something that he's proud of. We're putting our show's name on it. Our audience is going to buy it because there's legitimate good writers writing it. StugotzBook.com. But when you say I'm not allowed to be surprised, Mike.
Just breathe in, breathe out. Let's have some za.
When you say I'm not allowed to be surprised.
What are you doing here, dude? That's my thing. Did you watch Cale McCarr last night? Number 8. His name loosely translates into K-A-Ocho.
I can perpetually be surprised by how far he pushes out the disrespect until I have to knock it down on him. But in this one instance, if he doesn't get organized, I, at the front of his book, am really going to be insulting him in a way that offends his wife.
Sounds like you need to set some boundaries, Dan.
I'm having some trouble with that, Lucy. Can you help me? Because our entire company has an issue with that because I'm not good at it.
You should say you lost your phone, bro.
It's really not my job. I think you need a licensed professional.
New phone, who dis?
I asked yesterday Billy if he wanted the promotion of being Meadowlark consultant to be that licensed professional, but because I set very poor boundaries, he's like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
It all comes back to the boundaries.
But I don't want to boss everyone around here. I want them to be their best selves.
You just need to worry about you.
Chad, he gets it. Chad always gets it.
Mike Ryan is troubling me because his obsession with racing that's made an appearance out of nowhere when we are talking basketball and hockey, and he's snorting enough adrenaline for everybody around here. But Mike Ryan is somebody who will get obsessed with something, and then he's on the train listening to 4 Toronto Maple Leaf podcasts. And what he's doing with NASCAR right now, out of nowhere.
What do you like there, Berube?
Out of nowhere, what he is doing with NASCAR, where he's showing me his arm today, and it's got goosebumps on it because of something.
Yeah, I saw a fan-made trailer for an Intimidator 4-part docu-series that is going to Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime, they're in the live sports game, have been in for a long time. Next year, they get a NASCAR package, and to celebrate this, they've announced a 4-part series on the greatest racer of all time, Dale Earnhardt Jr., in my opinion, greatest character in the history of racing. And yeah, I got goosebumps watching what I'm pretty sure is just a fan-made trailer because I'm reliving all these great moments. I used to really like NASCAR when I was a youth growing up, seeing the Intimidator black number 3 against a rainbow-colored DuPont of Jeff Gordon. And that was a golden era. And also, I've just been reliving all these great race finishes because when it comes to play-by-play, you can't really get much better play-by-play than you get with NASCAR. So I'm reliving all these things. I'm watching it through a child's eyes. And I love NASCAR racing. They've been electric finishes. What started as a bit to rebel against Formula One because I just don't get it, and me just like doubling down on what was a fake gearhead type of character, has become a very real affinity for the motorsport. And now I'm really into Kyle Larson because he had the greatest finish to a race, the closest finish to a race in NASCAR history.
You and your wife jumping up and down on the couch.
Great moment. It was a great moment. It was electric. It also felt like America. And Kyle Larson is doing what few have tried to do before. I don't know if you know this, Dan. Bush and Stewart had done it prior. Only Tony Stewart was the only one that actually finished all the miles in there. But Kyle Larson, who Marty Smith told me a couple weeks ago, is the greatest living driver on the planet. More talented than Max Verstappen. That dude knows racing. But I was pretty shocked to hear that. How could a stock car driver be considered here? Well, he's racing in the Indy 500. And on the same day, he's traveling to Charlotte to participate in his NASCAR race. It's a feat that very few have even attempted, and even fewer have actually pulled off. And he's not had a lot of time to practice. These IndyCar race car drivers, that 10,000 hours, the whole deal. His practices are getting range shortened, and they've asked IndyCar drivers about Kyle Larson because they've seen these novelty acts come and go. He's got the respect of everybody. I would really love to talk to Kyle Larson about this, because if that can't get you in that one singular day, then motorsports is not for you. And I know largely it is not for our audience. But the theater, the drama, and the actual achievement of this is amazing.
Well, you say motorsports is not for our audience, and what I would say to you is prepare, okay? Prepare, because of what happened with F1 and Netflix and what is happening with sports and streaming right now, because this is from Mike Florio. To see every game in the 2024 NFL regular season, you'll need NBC, CBS, Fox, ABC, Sunday Ticket, NFL Network, ESPN, ESPN Plus, Amazon Prime, Peacock, and Netflix. And
don't forget, you'll actually need cable to really consume everything, because you need those credentials to log into a lot of those apps.
Also, I would say to you, watch Netflix, pouring a lot of money, 10-part documentary on Jerry Jones. Really excessive, really excessive. Will Ferrell doing a golf thing on Netflix. Everyone is rushing to sports. I don't believe Amazon has any chance of losing out on all NBA stuff, because Amazon's got the most money, and I'm assuming that they're going to start getting all sorts of stuff, and then we'll need the programming that supports all the stuff they have, because I'm guessing if they're competing with Netflix, they're going to start throwing all that money at those places.
I don't know if it's thanks to companies like DraftKings at legal sports betting, but it does, or the pandemic where everybody was just so hungry for anything that you had Korean baseball have a moment. But sports are certainly on the rise. The viewing, the ratings are all up. And it's why I'm partly really concerned about what's going on with the NBA in terms of a national scope. I know regional sports ratings tell a different story, but I would be really concerned if I were Adam Silver. And it doesn't seem to really matter, because they're going to set a new high watermark when it comes to rights anyways.
Let's get an expert on this subject in here. David Samson, his podcast is Nothing Personal, and if you want to be super informed on these kinds of things, I don't believe there's anyone doing it better in sports business. So tell us what Goodell is doing here, because both of these things going on in sports with football and basketball is fascinating. Netflix deal tells you that football is still king. How?
Well, it tells me that there's another bidder for the rights, and that Goodell's willing to play football on any day of the week, and he's willing to not care about player safety. And he can claim he does all he wants, but he wants games whenever he can. So he has inventory to sell whenever he can. And he wants to widen the lead that he has over the other leagues. He wants to be the king of everything, and good for him. I think it comes at the expense of the consumer, but guess what? Every company is trying to raise their prices and get you to spend more for fewer chips in the bag. That is as old as capitalism. So sports is just catching on and trying to make owners happy. And the reason they're doing it, Dan, is that the cost of entry has gone up so much. And we talk about this on the Sporting Class. There's an episode coming out with John Skipper and Pablo Torre, I hope tomorrow. And one of the things we talk about is how interesting it is when you spend $10 million on a sports team. It's okay if you're not getting every nickel from the consumer. When you spend $6 billion, you got to start finding new ways to make money.
Can you tell me the Chiefs' problem, the thing that Harrison Butker just did during a commencement speech where he took out an assortment of groups? We didn't even get to the anti-Semitism yesterday when we were starting to read some of the comments. There's a petition now of more than 30,000 signatures for the Chiefs to release him. Of course, he's going to become a hero to members of certain members of the far right. What is the problem the Chiefs have, and what's going to happen going forward here?
Well, the biggest problem is the Chiefs are playing on every day of the week this year except Tuesday. The biggest problem is they're trying to go for a three-peat, and they have a distraction that they just don't want to deal with. And the NFL came out with a statement putting itself with separation away from this place kicker. And I had to wait to see on Nothing Personal, and I got crushed for it online. But I don't think he kicks again for the Chiefs, no matter how good he is. And I'm not saying he doesn't have the right to his opinion. He doesn't have the right to tell me what my opinion should be. And then if my opinion is different, that my opinion's wrong. And that was the tone of the speech. Of course, he was preaching to the choir at the school where he gave the commencement.
He does have that right. He does have that right that you're saying he does not have to tell you your opinion is wrong.
So let's talk about free speech. I love that you want to do this. Free speech is the ability to say anything that is within the bounds of the Constitution, that basically says that if you don't like what I'm saying, it doesn't matter. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, it doesn't matter. However, I have the right to choose whether I engage with you, whether I give you the platform to do it. You can be yelling into the wind. That's still free speech. The Chiefs have every right to release him for what he said, and they don't need to hide behind free speech. They don't need to hide behind anything other than, I don't want you representing me. And that is totally legal.
Well,
and that's what I think is going to happen.
Understood that they have that right. And Colin Kaepernick's not playing because the NFL did that to him. But I don't hear anyone saying what you're saying, that Butker just lost his job. I don't hear anyone saying that.
And the reason I'm saying it is when you run a team and you see what this is doing, I had the view that Kelsey and Swift were going to have a problem, and that the Chiefs would certainly choose Kelsey and Swift.
But wait. Mahomes was on with McAfee and did say that I never speak to Harrison Butker. He sits next to me in meetings, and I will not speak to that person. But I thought that was about. Quarterback doesn't respect the kicker. I didn't think it was about his politics.
I didn't hear him say that, so I don't know exactly what you're referring to as to why he doesn't speak to him. But it's very common within a clubhouse that you've got players who can go a whole season and they say nothing to each other off the court.
No, but wait. This was a couple of years ago, and I don't know the context. I just saw a short clip. Mahomes said that Butker sits next to him in the meetings and he doesn't say anything to him all season.
Because of his views, or because
I don't know.
He doesn't like it?
No, that wasn't.
What are we talking about?
But that wasn't clear in the interview. But you're just mentioning that the Chiefs can run him off if the players have a problem with what it is that he just did. But I'm assuming they already know who this person is.
Oh, so you think the reason Mahomes doesn't talk to him is because of his views,
and
but
that
he's good at kicking.
And that he's a kicker. I don't need your opinion on anything. I don't care if I agree with all your opinions. I don't need your opinions on anything. You don't actually play football. You kick the ball with your foot.
And it hasn't mattered until now, when he became a viral sensation for certain people and his views were put out there. And again, I want to be clear. Just because I disagree with what he said doesn't mean he doesn't have the right to say it. My point is that the way in which he did it and the form in which he chose, totally his choice and his right to do it. But that puts his job in jeopardy because he's on a team where the biggest star of the team is the most accomplished woman in theory and maybe in practice. The single most accomplished woman in the world is a part of the Chiefs, and way more a part of the Chiefs than he is.
All right, Samson, let me put you in this room because you're saying things that I don't believe are going to happen. I don't believe there are going to be any consequences to this for him, even though his value is only as a kicker, and those are largely disposable, but he's a good one and a champion. And if he somehow gets waived, then he becomes a fighter for a cause of some sort, somebody who's too hot for the NFL. You're the guy running the Chiefs
Harrison
right now.
Freedom.
You're the guy running the Chiefs right now. This is your problem. What are you doing? You're the owner and president of the Chiefs.
I'm making sure that Kelsey and Mahomes are okay, and I'm hoping not to have to release him because he's good. If he were bad, I would have released him immediately.
Okay, but that's not any kind of stand at all.
This is a team that also signed Matt Araiza.
Wait, you asked me what I would do if I were running the team.
That's right. You're saying they're going to be. You're saying you think he's played his last down for the Chiefs, and that can only be so if they waive him.
Because I think the way this ends is that it has legs, and I don't think the story goes away. And I don't mean a petition with 30,000 signatures. I think it creates a problem inside that locker room more than silence, which is really not a problem in a locker room. And I think the Chiefs will have no choice. They're hoping that the next story happens and that this gets under the table. But my view is some stories become an avalanche. Right now it's a pebble, but once it becomes an avalanche, there's no turning back from it. And I think this story becomes that.
Can you talk to us about the business of the WNBA as all these streaming services need sports content, and now the WNBA has charter flights and broadcast deals, and it is now a giant business. It is a different business than it's been for the last 25 years. It's entering a phase of value that is cashing in on all of the things. So explain to me what you see happening right now with the finances of the WNBA.
Right now, the WNBA is in fake it till you make it mode. And the reason I say that is they've got a anchor tenant now. And Caitlin Clark is that anchor tenant. It's like the keystone. The question is, how are you monetizing that? Spending extra money on charter flights, that's more expense. Where's the more revenue coming from? You saw 2.1 million people watch her first game with the Fever, and then you saw a diminution, it was almost like a Bomani Jones situation where a quarter of the people stayed for the second game. And the problem with that is when you're in the middle of a broadcast deal, which is what the WNBA is, trying to break away from the NBA, is this now the time? Everybody's saying, yes, take advantage. We've got Clark. We've got sold out games. This is amazing. But when it comes to dollars and cents, in actuality, the WNBA value proposition has not changed, but it could change if they can somehow take advantage of Caitlin Clark more so than 2.1 million people in game one, or more so than the first game in New York this coming Saturday, more so than putting them on private planes. They've got to find a way to increase the value of sponsorships, to increase the value of teams, and to get their own broadcast deal. When those happen, then the WNBA business has changed.
I feel like they've already done that. Like the WNBA, Caitlin has been a catalyst and will continue to be a catalyst, but it's been growing for the last 5 years. When Caitlin was drafted, it was almost immediately that the Fever released a Caitlin Clark line on their team store. I bought a hat. It's very cute. I'll wear it next time I'm here. But they've done a good job with that, and I think what we're like kind of discounting here is we've had more star power in this rookie class than we've ever seen, and they are bringing something that former players weren't bringing. Those are NIL deals. So Caitlin already has a sponsorship with Gamebridge, which is based in Indianapolis. I think those will carry over to the team. Like specifically alone, watching the WNBA games on Tuesday night, I saw so many ads, CarMax with Sabrina, Asia, Sue Bird, Skims, like the sponsorships and the viewerships are all coming. I think the big question is how do you translate that into negotiating your next TV rights deal?
And how do you translate that into what the teams are selling for? Because again, you could do a full your mark, which that may be a reference from before you moved to Florida with the Panthers, where he had a ton of sponsors, but they weren't paying anything, and a ton of attendance, and they were giving tickets away. I've done all that in this market. The fact is that that doesn't do anything for your business. It just makes it look like things are good. So I saw those commercials too, and I am rooting for it, but there's so much pressure on Caitlin Clark to perform, and people were shaming her for turnovers and not shooting well. She is a rookie coming into a league against professionals. It's a different world. Could she be the best player in the game soon? Yes, but she shouldn't be expected to be it today.
No, I agree that she has like an insane amount of pressure on her. And even if she doesn't succeed right away, like hate to say it, people love to watch women fail. People will tune in so they can give the Stugotz take of she's terrible and she's overrated. Like that's something people will tune in to watch. I think something that I note specifically is outside of the Fever, the Sparks, the Aces, the Mystics have all had games that they've had to move to bigger arenas because the ticket sales have been so much bigger than they were previously. So I think you are seeing people are willing to spend money to see a WNBA team. The thing with the Fever not selling out as many tickets, or they've sold out majority of their tickets for tonight. They just have tickets selling really cheaply. I think it's also important to note that right now Indiana has a team in the NBA playoffs as well. Like there's such a thing as fan width. I think that once the NBA season starts to slow down a little bit, you're going to see just this insane rush of people looking to go to the WNBA. And I think Caitlin's a big part of that. I think Angel's a big part of it. And I think the existing stars that we're now getting to know a little bit better are also a huge part of that as well.
I used to use fan width all the time when the Heat were still in it, when the Dolphins season was happening. Hey, that's why people aren't coming to Marlins games. I used to love that as an excuse, and it was total horse hockey because it turns out fan width is way, way bigger than one would think. And I thought those venues were changed because those were all Caitlin Clark games.
No.
Are they changing venues for just regular matchups?
Yeah, like the Mystic Sky
That's
game.
awesome.
Like there's so much interest in this rookie class specifically, and Caitlin is the big name, and she's deserved all of that. But people love Cameron Brink. They love Angel Reese. It's coming along for a lot of teams outside of the Fever.
David, stay right there because I want to ask you about your movie review and why you just did that asshole move to Bomani. We're going to come back with that in a second. David Samson of Nothing Personal has fired people up here locally because he has had very strong opinions about whether or not Jimmy Butler is going to come back or should be back. And he believes the Heat have a giant problem, and he will have an ally, I imagine, here in Mike Ryan. But what is the problem that you think the Miami Heat has?
I think there's an issue when you have so much continuity, and it's been great when they've been good, and having Riley there. And I love Pat Riley more so as the Knicks coach and what he's done for the people of Miami with all their rings. But the game's changed, and the way he wants to have players and run his team and the way he's holding on to that 90s view, I just don't think is realistic. I think their roster is flawed. I think that you can get suckered into thinking because of their postseason success that they are a championship team. And if you don't want to settle for appearances, but you want more rings, I think you have to change who you get married to in terms of your players. And I think it will take a change at the top for the Heat to get another ring.
Wait a minute. What was that last sentence?
I think it will take a change at the top for the Heat to get another ring.
I mean, no, I don't. He does not have an ally in me. And I think I respect and value David, and I know that he won a World Series down here, but I think in a vacuum, if I tell you David Samson says the Heat should let go of Pat Riley, that usually gets laughed out of the room. And I think Pat Riley has shown in recent years that he has pivoted.
Say let go of Pat Riley. Hold on.
No. You say change.
Change at the top.
Okay.
That's what it. David,
yeah,
what are
but
you
he's
doing?
the czar of the franchise.
What are you doing, David?
Yeah,
Pat, listen.
He's valuing draft picks now. They've leaned more into development. I think he's shown you that he's able to adapt with the times. If anything, he could probably hop in the old throwback machine and just not care about draft picks and get a superstar and do the old Pat thing.
Well, maybe that's what it's going to take. So I don't want to make an enemy. I love Pat Riley, and I've known him for decades. I'm trying to look at the team and think about the teams that he's competing against and look at these teams in the Western Conference, even look at teams in the Eastern Conference. It's hard to look at a Knicks team playing without half their team as saying they're just better than the Heat in every possible way. Looking at the Celtics, as much as they've got problems, they're better than the Heat and going forward in every possible way. And I think both those teams are worse than the 4 teams remaining in the Western Conference. So Pat's never wanted mediocrity, ever. He's always either wanted the ring or nothing.
David, but I love Pat Riley. I've known him for decades. He should step aside. There need a change at the top. Like that. Nobody's saying that.
It doesn't matter if nobody's saying it. The question is, do people believe in the leadership that exists right now that they will do what is necessary for the Heat to get a ring?
Why wouldn't they believe that, given that that's been the standard here for 20 years?
Has it been the standard here for 20 years?
It's been the standard here since he got here. Since he got here, the
Pat
standard
Riley is the most successful executive I've ever seen, both on the sideline and in the front office in my entire career.
And you just saw Belichick run out of A-Town, but Riley doesn't have that relationship with ownership. And furthermore, Riley is the one who is a little more off to the side than he's ever been because the organization is run by 5 people, not 1. It's 5 people.
And I would argue that Pat Riley, were he to tell you the truth, would say that he is as involved today as he's always been.
No, I know that to not be true. I know that to not be
He's
true.
asked Pat Riley.
I know that to not
talk
be
about
true.
that.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like he
Not
is.
knowing it to be true.
Yeah, look, I've been as hard as on the Heat franchise as anybody, and I'm not saying Pat Riley step aside. I think he'll figure it out, but you're largely right in that they need to do something here because it's not trending in the right direction. I would also buck up against the notion that the Pacers and the Knicks are that much better in every way. I think the difference between those teams are very little, and in some cases, they might be the acquisition of OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam, places where Pat Riley actually, I don't even know if he went to the dish, let alone struck out.
Or just health.
Yeah, like if the Miami Heat are just healthy, and I know Knicks fans are probably hoping they don't win that series again, that playoff game, the play-in game against the Philadelphia 76ers. But if the Miami Heat are healthy, I think that's a very tight series. I don't think they're appreciably better.
When everybody got concerned about what Pat Riley said about Jimmy Butler, that was sort of where it stemmed from, was his idea of not just if Jimmy Butler himself played through bumps and bruises, quote unquote, to play 75 games, but if he, as the leader of the team, was doing more of that, then you get some of those role players doing the same. They were 4 games worse in the regular season than the Knicks, and if they had, while healthy, the same path, I think Pat Riley's view of it is they'd be going to another Eastern Conference Finals as the boogeyman for a Celtics team that doesn't know how to close out games late, and they'd be getting all the love the Knicks are getting right now. Is that the answer?
Which
Maybe
is also
not.
probably skewed, too. I think the answer is probably somewhere in the middle.
It probably is, which is why I would expect the Heat to make some sort of significant move in this offseason. I don't think it's blowing up their duo of Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler.
No. The significant move Samson is suggesting is change at the top. I didn't hear you wrong. Change at the top is what Samson said.
I believe that until there's change at the top, the moves will not look all that different. People are who they are. And when you have been successful doing what you do, you tend to keep doing it, even when the rules have changed or the characters have changed. That's just life. That's why change happens at the top at corporations or at sports teams or in any business or in a media company, because people who are at the top do what they do, and they've done it fantastically, but they tend to do it that way always, even when times have changed.
Right, but we've seen with the Celtics and with other teams, you can microwave a brand new roster immediately in that sport. And I understand they're not trending in the right direction, but it was just like one bad year. They can dig themselves out of it.
When you talk about evolution, too, when it comes to the Heat and the way that they've built their roster, Pat Riley was the ultimate have a big man who you throw the ball into the paint. And then he drafted Bam Adebayo to build around that skill set, a versatile guy who could do a lot of switching on defense that Eric Spoelstra helped to revolutionize. The roster and drafting young players like Nikola Jovic and Tyler Hero, guys who were one and done or European players, that's the opposite of everything Pat Riley did for the first several years here in Miami and elsewhere. He never drafted young
old players.
Yeah,
What, did he draft old players?
He specifically drafted players who had gone through 3 or 4 years of college, even into
So
when the one and
22
done.
versus 20?
Yeah, there's a huge difference, and now they just did it again with Jaquez, and look at the way that he contributed immediately as a rookie. He was always the guy that said, "I don't care about potential, I care about what you can contribute to this roster right now," and they've found a way to sort of at least hybridize that. That doesn't mean that it's worked with this roster as presently constructed, but I would fight back against the idea that he hasn't at least sort of altered the route in which they build this team.
Boy, is that circular reasoning, Jeremy.
Both of you, shut up about
each
this.
his own, bro.
It's gone about 5 minutes too long, and even I heard it, which is mortifying to me. Review your movie before we get you out of here. And Mike Ryan, if there were a Heat game being played tonight, the biggest that's ever been played, and I wanted to get tickets for that Heat game somehow, how would I do that?
Oh, in an instant like this, where the primary market is probably all sold out, Dan, there's only one place that you go. You download the Game Time app. You create an account and use a code DAN, that is spelled DAN, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. A little bit of Mel Kiper in there. But look, it doesn't just apply to sports. It applies to concerts. A big theater, a theater is hosting a comedian.
David Samson show, maybe?
Yeah, David Samson at City Winery. I don't know if that meets the threshold. But look, Game Time, I told you, I practice what I preach. I was a Game Time truther, a believer, a customer, a user for several years before they even came aboard. For my money, it's the best one, and it is my money, and it is your money. When you're scouting for the best flash deals in the country, I always go to Game Time first. No surprises with the fees. They're all up front with me and the Game Time app, so I appreciate them for coming aboard and supporting us, and I appreciate the vine, Dan.
Samson.
I came aboard Game Time when they came aboard Metalark, and I use it exclusively, and let me just tell you, it's awesome.
There you go,
It is
David.
exactly what
Appreciate
they say
you.
it will be. You can get tickets to anything, just not my show.
Samson, what are you reviewing for us this week?
I want to talk about Nikki Glazer. I watched her special, and I will admit here, and I apologize, I never had heard of her before the Tom Brady roast. And she was so funny that I then went to Max and watched her special, Someday You'll Die, which I assume she was talking just to me because that's exactly how I think. It turns out that the Tom Brady roast was only the beginning of her crassness and incredible brilliance as a comedian. You get a full hour of the humor of her saying things about herself and about you, not you, Dan, but you, the collective you, that you wouldn't imagine since maybe Eddie Murphy, that there would be that type of humor. And it works. So if you liked the Tom Brady roast more than Tom Brady, which is pretty much everybody, and you knew what a roast was, which is everybody but Brady, go watch Nikki Glazer, Someday You'll Die, because the truth is in the title.
She is having a tremendous moment. Thank you, David. Don't do that with Bomani anymore. Thank you.
I'm happy to tell you why, but you never asked.
Well, just don't do it anymore, please.
Well, tell him not to do it anymore, and then I'll stop.
Well, no, I'm telling you not to do it anymore.
No, I'm allowed to respond, Dan, on the air, just like he does.
Get out of here. Thank
Okay.
you.
Happy to get out of here.
All right. Go ahead and do it.
That's right. It's time for Thursday Thunder, and it is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Check out what DraftKings have to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Juju Gotti in the lab cooking it up. Jeremy, what do we got?
Yeah, I'll deliver this on behalf of Juju Gotti, which I know the audience loves. First, on Thursday Thunder, the New York Liberty at the Indiana Fever. There's an over-under set at 13.5 points for Benijah Laney Hamilton. We're taking the over. Moving over to the NBA, Anthony Edwards has been playing great for Minnesota. Backs up against the wall. Over-under set at 29.5. We're taking the over there for Anthony Edwards. And Naz Reid, 6th man of the year for Minnesota. They need the win. He's going to be up to the task as well. We have him over 9.5 points.
I need the help as a bad leader who doesn't set the proper boundaries of Lucy, Chris Cody, and Mike Ryan. I need your help. When Jeremy gets heat bulldoggy, how do the four of us grab his collar and throw him into the sea?
Have you thought about asking nicely?
I just did.
That wasn't very nice, Dan. We got to work on your language and your tone.
I am a little concerned because we haven't quite gotten to the bottom of this story, but at present, the Knicks PR department has still not responded to our request for comment on Deadline, in which we asked, quote, can you confirm or deny that Alec Burks dealt the reported, quote, epic fart before Game 5? New York Post reporter Steph Bondy has responded to our inquiries with exclusive commentary on his own. He says, quote, sorry, this is dumb, end quote. So,
that guy.
Yeah, the Knicks, that guy, and the Knicks in general, they're not being cooperative. So I don't think we're going to get any closer to this story than we already are. Before we bring on Mike Schur, though, you guys have been dying to talk about this 911 call. Did we want to share this with Schur, or do you want to just share it with our audience and have Schur wait for a second?
Mike Schur is there in the Zoom, so I think he can watch like what we're doing. So this is not a 911 call, Dan. This is a 911 clip. As in, like, 911 Lone Star, the show that Rob Lowe is on. And you could not watch it. I don't know how many in our audience do, but I'm just going to play, like, a very short, like, 8-second clip to perhaps entice you into this upcoming episode, a recent episode of 911 Lone Star.
I'm starting compressions.
Cap, medical's here.
Oh, I saw this on John Oliver. I saw this the other day.
Yeah, that is a frozen man that Rob Lowe had to do chest compressions on. So when he gets the script, he reads that, and if we could play it back one more time, I think he knocks the assignment out of the park.
It's great. It really is great.
I'm starting compressions.
Cap, medical's here.
Mike Schur worked with Rob Lowe. That is probably some of the best work you've ever seen Rob Lowe do.
Literally.
That's a catastrophe. You got to turn your microphone on.
It's on.
Okay. All right.
It's on.
All right.
I'm an industry professional. I wasn't muted.
It's Chris Cody. He's not an industry professional. Go ahead. Continue.
I was going to say that it's up there with Dog Ate Dan's Heart, if you've ever seen that, for One Tree Hill. Yeah, Lucy's giving me a
it's
round of
so
applause.
good.
When we were talking about this, Lucy and I were talking about this clip before the show, and immediately she went to dog eating a heart.
Yeah, that's the greatest 30 seconds in TV history, I think.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. We were on in the Good Place writers' room. We were obsessed with that, and we watched it hundreds and hundreds of times and just broke it down. Here we go.
All right, let's do it.
There's so many things.
Let's do it together. No, let's do it right now. We're going to roll this right now. Yes, this is horrifying.
No one moves. And then, first of all, why is there a dog in the hospital at all?
To eat the heart.
He really needed that heart transplant.
But look at the look that Chad Michael Murray gives here. Oh, you just cut it off. But he gives him a look. He gives Dan a look like, I told you. Like as if he knew this was going to happen. Also, if you play it again, there's a couple really great details. One of which is that the heart, when it rolls out of the container, here we go. Okay, so watch what happens here. The leash trips him. It rolls out of the container. It's right next to a black line. Now we cut to this shot, and it's nowhere close to the black line. It's going to a completely different place.
I mean, okay.
This dog really mucked everything up.
The nurse gives a look of like, oh no, not again, which is like, I think this is a hospital where several organs have been eaten by pets. And then the look, but the ending look is like, I told you so. I told you that if you
one's trying to stop the dog. The dog just takes the heart and goes.
No one makes a move. Like even the guy who falls down and drops the heart just kind of lies on his stomach for like, I don't know, 15 seconds, just frozen in a sort of like as if he's a chalk outline on the ground. Look at that look. That's amazing. Like, it's like, I told you, we all knew this was going to happen.
Mike Schur, before we get to your stat of the day and before we get to your beloved Celtics, that's going to happen to you this season with your Celtics, metaphorically. A dog's going to run on the court.
Or the chest compression.
Something's going to happen. The chest compression, that's correct. I want to show you, would you like to see Deshaun Watson's back tattoo? I want to show you this. Are you somebody who's interested in this at all? Because you're not? Okay, show it to Mike Schur.
All right. So there's a lot going on in this back tattoo. I isolated two things that are fairly absurd about this back tattoo. Anyone want to take a guess?
Sorry, you isolated 2 things.
Just 2. Everything else
Okay.
seems like pretty run-of-the-mill for NFL player back tattoos. So
Sure.
there is if you see right beneath the NFL logo, there are 3 rings. One I think was like a high school ring. The other one's a college football national championship ring. And then there's a blank ring on his back. Yeah, that's right there next to Martin Luther King in a fitted.
There's MLK.
There is a blank Super Bowl ring.
Does it say I have a dream?
I have
on
a
the
dream.
hat?
If you weren't
that's a hat.
sure.
Wearing an I have a dream
right.
hat. Yeah, he
Yeah,
made merch.
and I have a dream fitted hat on Martin Luther King. That somehow steals the show from the empty Super Bowl ring from a quarterback that we don't know is actually any good anymore.
What is underneath the blank ring? Is that an astronaut or something?
That is an astronaut.
What is?
Yeah, that's an astronaut.
That's an astronaut.
That's a dumb question by you.
Yeah, what's the matter with you? Isn't it obvious that
Yeah.
it's an astronaut?
Yeah.
And that it's Martin Luther King with a baseball cap that reads, I have a dream. Can we put that in our merch store?
With a New Era sticker still
No,
on the
no,
on
you
the
can't.
fitted
You
cap.
can't. It's important to me that you know that you can't do that.
Just the tattoo. I'm not saying just the hat. I'm saying
the tattoo. Yeah,
yes.
maybe, yeah.
You think we can do that?
He also hedged
No,
his,
you can't. I'm sure it's copyrighted. All that stuff is copyrighted. You cannot sell merch.
If you see
of
this
his back tattoo.
If you see the back tattoo, like the empty Super Bowl ring, he's actually lucked out because it kind of seems like it's a Cleveland Browns helmet on the ring, but their helmet is such that you could also shade that in if he were to win one as a backup somewhere else.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like the helmet is blank in the same way that the top of the ring is blank, so that when he wins his ring, ostensibly he could fill in the logo on the helmet
Right.
and also the right. Okay.
Right, but he can presently claim like, oh no, that's a Browns tattoo.
Oh, I see.
Before we get to Mike Schur's stat of the day, just play that again. Not the dog, please. I just want to see Rob Lowe cave that frozen person's chest in again.
He's starting compressions.
Cap Medical's here.
It's just a terrible result to have if you're a paramedic who's trying to save a life.
Yeah,
there. It's just you
that's
can't
right.
expect
Worst possible result. I
It
think.
really is.
I would have
It's
checked his
horrifying.
vitals first before going in for that move.
It stays with you forever. Imagine that night just going home, honey, you're not going to believe what happened at work. I was trying to save a man, and then instead I caved his frozen chest in. It was horrifying.
Yeah. Well, you know how I do the thing where I do the chest compressions? Well, something different happened this time.
Is that going to happen?
This is actually my fear if someone's ever choking at a restaurant that I don't know my own strength. Now, it's not usually with a frozen solid person, but I just feel like I'd break all sorts of ribs and actually push through someone's cavity.
Your fear is performing CPR in front of people and hurting someone more and not saving their life?
Right. Like now.
Because he's so strong.
Yeah,
because
now
he's
they're-
so powerful.
Well,
yeah.
it's also not just because I'm so powerful and strong, though I am those things. It's also because I don't have the proper form down. I never paid attention when we actually went through these things. I wasted too much time watching the YouTube on how to do this, that the person's probably dead.
I think it happens most times, though, that the ribs are broken. I don't know where I read that, but I
Most times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most times?
You want to save a life, got to break a few ribs.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Does the Heimlich maneuver most times break a few ribs? What is the stat of the day music that we're doing today? Long version or short version?
I think,
Start
yeah,
of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day.
Sure, just Chris just said in my ear, I've had a clean few days. I'm really shitting the bed today. You were saying, Mike Schur.
Nothing. Forget it. I was hoping Stugotz was going to be here for this. Jokic had 40 points the other night against the T-Wolves. You know, I know I heard you talk about it, but people are saying, you know, he's the greatest ever. I just want to say slow your roll. MJ in the playoffs, you know how many times he had 40 points in the playoffs? 38. 38 times. Of course, Jokic also had 7 rebounds, but whatever. You know how many times Jordan had 40 and 7 in the playoffs? 17. 17 times 40 and 7. Greatest ever. And yes, fine. Okay, Jokic also had 13 assists. Who cares? You know how many times Jordan had 47 and 13 in the playoffs? Never. He never did that. And you know how many times in the playoffs Jordan had 40 and 13 assists? Forget the rebounds. Also never. You know how many times Jordan had 47-13 in any game in his career, regular season or playoffs? Once. April 13th, 1989 against Indy. Also in that game, he had 4 turnovers. He didn't hit a 3. He took 30 shots, and Jokic only took 22 in his game. And also the Bulls lost to Indy by 4. Whatever. The point is MJ's the GOAT. We all know it. By the way, LeBron has had one 47-13 playoff game. May 3rd, 2018 against Toronto. So in his, whatever it was, 14th season. But it doesn't matter. Michael Jordan.
Not with 0 turnovers, he didn't. Not with
no,
0.
He sure didn't. No,
it's just insane. We've got less than 90 seconds remaining. Go ahead. Tell us whatever you've got on your Celtics here, because it's not a coincidence that you showed up today.
No, it's not at all. I told your producer that I would only show up if the Celtics won. Here's the thing. Every Celtics text thread is the same in all of these games. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Missoula sucks. Tatum can't hit a shot in the clutch. We won by 15. It's the same thing every time. And Charlotte's got it all wrong. Charlotte's outlook on this is completely wrong, because getting to the Eastern Conference Finals was the bare minimum for this team. Like it's like it is a little bit of like, okay, it's time to win a chip. But to me, the expectations game with the Celtics is helped so much by Jokic, because if you can get to the finals and you lose to that guy, no one thinks that you screwed up. It doesn't matter. It's like that guy. The guy's invincible. He's a Terminator.
This is some Jason Tatum math right here that is being
applied. No, it's not.
Dude,
no, it's absolutely
you have to win.
Win one
you have
in my
to win.
lifetime.
You have to win,
please,
sure. You
for
have
the
to.
love of God.
You have
for as
to
much
win.
as you guys talk about history.
You have to win the
for
whole
as much
thing.
as you think you guys are a big deal, win it, please.
Win the whole
Win
thing.
one in 4K.
Win the whole thing.
Win one in 4K.
Always great to see you guys.
See you
Go
later.
Katz.
See you later. Go Katz. That was
balls in a blender.
That was pathetic. Go Katz was pathetic as a sign-off.
So was Morgan Geeky.
Fred Katz.